Hey everyone, welcome to the video. This is Dr. Ryan Bradshaw. I'm your instructor for business law, and this video and podcast is going to cover Chapter 3 in business law. And Chapter 3 is about business ethics and social responsibility. So what does it mean to be ethical? What do ethics do for us? What does the system of ethics do for us? Ethics is basically a systematic approach to understanding rights and wrongs. It's a system for understanding morality. It's a system for evaluating ethical dilemmas, things that may not seem 100% clear cut. Some of these ethical dilemmas we deal with on a daily basis. You find a $1 bill on the sidewalk, there's nobody around, what do you do with it? But then if you find $10,000 on the sidewalk and there's nobody around, what do you do with that? Or if you find, a pencil on the floor in a classroom, there's nobody around, what do you do? Or, if you find a really, really nice, that was, an expensive pen in the classroom, nobody's around. So these are kind of ethical dilemmas. Another example is, if I were to take you into a room and say, I'm going to give you $100 and you can keep as much as that $100 you want, or you can give it to a random stranger that you've never met before that's in the other room and you'll never meet them or see them again. Just some random person. What would you do with that? How much of that $100 would you give that person? Or let's say that I put you in the same example, but instead of a random stranger, I say it's somebody that's poor, that doesn't have any money, and they need some money. So how much of that $100 would you give them? And one last example would be, if it's a rich person with a lot of money, it's a millionaire, how much of that $100 would you give that person? So you can see that all those examples involve giving money to somebody else, but probably your perception shifts a little bit when you understand the other variables. And the reason I give you that example is because ethics have a lot of gray area to consider, and things that were once ethical may be considered unethical today, and vice versa. Things that were considered unethical in the past may be ethical today. So it's an evolving dialogue that we have in our society. And so it's important that you begin to have a skeptical mind, a mind that asks questions, because as you see in the example with the money giveaway, your perception probably shifted a little bit depending on who's in the room. And so it may not have. You may have said, I'm keeping all the money for myself, the other person gets nothing. So, what if I said it was a child, that needs the money, and this will help provide them for food and some other basics? That may change your your ethical tone a little bit, so, or your outcome a little bit. So these things are a gray area. It's important that you understand that, and it's important that as you become more methodical and thoughtful in your decision making, that you become somebody that's a skeptic, somebody that's willing to ask questions, to evaluate information objectively, and to try to make quality decisions. Understand that just because you can think and come up with ideas and decisions very quickly doesn't mean that those ideas and decisions are correct. You need to be objective and skeptical, even of your own outcomes. I know that sounds a little weird, because from our own first person perspective, we think we're always right. We come up with a thought, a concept, an idea, and it's ours, so it must be the way to go because it's our thought. We came up with it. But be willing to admit that there's a possibility that you are wrong in your assumptions, and wrong in your ideas, and wrong in your outcomes. That is a very significant acknowledgement of intelligence, that you say, I know that I don't know everything. I know that I may not have all the information. I know that if I pick this outcome, it may not be the best choice. So you're willing to go out and consider other alternatives and options. that not only is a strong indicator of intelligence, it's a strong marker of leadership. To know that a leader by themselves cannot know everything, to know that they don't have all the answers. And so this is good things for you to understand and process as you go forward into leadership positions in your careers. And so the chapter on ethics and social responsibility opens talking about business ethics. And so just wanted to talk briefly about it. This is mainly an introduction to the reading. Business ethics are important because even though we talk about and teach business ethics every year in schools across the country, we still find that every year organizations have ethical shortcomings. People embezzle funds, people lie, cheat, and steal. People do things that cause others significant harm. And so, I mean, there was an example of that I've shown in class in the past where a executive of a peanut butter company signed off on a tainted batch of peanut butter that had been tainted with salmonella, and several people died. It was something like 7 or 9 people died as a result of that bad decision, and it was all for profit. It was all for money to avoid having to throw that batch away. And so, yeah, you know, and I'm sure this person, you know, I know he's in prison, but I'm sure that in hindsight, he thinks about that one bad decision, you know, and there probably were other ones we didn't know about, but he looks at that specific bad decision to do that, and sitting in prison thinking, why did I do that? Why did I make that bad decision? You know, he probably was a pretty wealthy guy. I don't know what his salary was, but I have to imagine it was pretty good salary, being the president or CEO of a peanut butter company. So you're thinking, you know, if he just made one different decision, it could have changed his whole life outcome. So we don't want you to stumble into or make bad decisions, because bad decisions lead to bad outcomes. And so we want you to refine your decision-making process. One way to do that is to study ethics and understand that decision-making is methodical. It involves skepticism and asking questions. It involves time and thought. And so the more that you refine your ethical framework, the better quality decisions you'll make that not only reduce harm but also offer the most benefit. And so good leaders make tough decisions that sometimes cause pain for their associates, you know, like if they have to cut salaries in order to not have to fire anybody or to save the company. Those types of scenarios are very much relevant in today's world, and so studying business ethics as a part of business law is so timely. And so you can see like some ethical things to talk about. So executive compensation during employee layoffs. Yeah, if employees are getting laid off, why is the executive making millions of dollars? That's an ethical consideration. Fair compensation for employees. I read an article yesterday where a CEO said that they were going to start paying every employee at the company $70,000. Guy's name is Dan Price. He runs a company called Gravity out in Washington State, I believe. So look up Dan Price, Gravity. Good story, really interesting. He took $1 million pay cut of his own salary to be able to raise the standard of living for all of his employees, and the outcomes were tremendous. Home ownership went up. Families, or starting families, went up. Positivity, like from the work experience, went up. I mean, there were several metrics that improved. Poor company reputation. Yeah, if you make bad ethical decisions, it's going to hit your company reputation. Negative employee relations, recruitment and retention problems. Nobody wants to work at a bad company. You know, it's hard sometimes to make those decisions when you're trying to get a job as to, you know, if I get this job, what does that mean from a quality of life standpoint? Is it a good company to work for? Sometimes it's hard to know that. There are sources online, like I think Glass Ceiling might be a website that you can go to research kind of employee reviews of a company. So some of that's hard to vet 100%, because I think more times than not, people that are disgruntled or unhappy with their experience leave negative reviews versus people leaving positive reviews they had a good experience. So you have to kind of use a judgment call there. Company credibility loss. Yeah. Does anybody want to eat peanut butter from that company, for example? So yeah, this is just an introduction. I want you to go through and read the rest of this and really soak in the information on ethics. The other part of the chapter goes into social responsibility. And what is corporate social responsibility? Generally speaking, corporations set up in a community, and keep in mind that we just talked about this in our intro to business class. Corporations are basically legal entities, or they have personhood status, meaning that if you're a corporation, if you're coming into a community, you are basically a person within that community. You have personhood status. You can own property. You file taxes. You're a separate entity beyond the founders of that company. And so that being said, you have an obligation as a member of the community to make sure that you're not causing harm or do anything that would have a negative impact on that community. You're there to add a positive value add to the community. And so take a look at this corporate responsibility information. I'll talk about some of the benefits. Improved perception by investors. Yeah, investors like to get into companies that do a social good. Good example, this company, Tom's, buy a pair of shoes, give a pair of shoes to somebody in need. Bombas is a sock company. Their socks are pricey, but they're not. They do wear good. I like Bombas socks. They are pricey though. I think they're $7 to $9 a pair. They are very comfortable though. I do like them. I've bought some in the past. And every time you buy a pair of Bombas socks, you're basically buying a second pair too that they donate to someone in need. The guys that started it did some research, and they found out that the number one requested item at homeless shelters was socks. And so they wanted to start a company to address that need. So I give major props to the Bombas guys. I love the philosophy of the company. It is a more premium sock experience from a price standpoint, especially when you look at, you can get a bag of socks at Walmart for I guess $9 to $12, and here you're going to pay $7 to $9 for a single pair. I would like a more affordable price point, but I understand the mission. I understand what the company's doing, and so that's why I probably only ordered once. I wonder what their repeat customer percentage is. That would be something interesting to look up. So other things: enhanced performance for going green, contracting for success, the benevolent halo effect, consistency of efforts and partnerships, talent attraction. People like to work for good companies, and consumer influence. So take a look at this chapter, and I hope you get some good information from it and really learn something. So I've been teaching ethics for several years now, and my hope is that as people learn about ethical decision making, it does have a ripple effect through society, and where you see people in the past, you change over the course of your education. I changed over the course of my education. My perception was different. I had different lenses based on things I had learned. And so when I'm approached with a decision now, there is an ethical lens there that says, how does this impact other people? Is it, just a net positive for everybody involved? What's the opportunity cost? Meaning that what do I have to give up in order to pursue this opportunity? And so you start to really being a skeptic of information, and start to be try to be more objective in your processing of information, and realize that you may not have all the answers. I know I certainly don't, but I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to this kind of micro lecture and introduction to chapter 3. If you need anything at all, please do send me an email. I'm here to support you and here to answer your questions. I do appreciate your patience and your investment in your education. And like I said, anything we can do to assist you, just let me know. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Talk to you soon.